negosyo o kalayaan, bayan o sarili, pumili ka!
On October 29, 1866, an Ilocano boy named Antonio Luna de San Pedro y División Cheta was born in the city of Manila. And on that day forward, he would live in the most fascinating life of any Filipino in history. It was a life that was featured in a box office hit, General Luna. And today, many of the young generation could easily recognize Antonio Luna because of this successful movie. So what exactly do we know about General Antonio Luna beyond this movie portrayal? Let's learn more. At number 1, General Luna was an Ilocano, but he grew up in the city of Manila. He was the youngest of the 7 children of Joaquin de San Pedro y Posadas and Lorena de Visco y Ian Jetta. The Luna family was privileged and they were able to send their children abroad for higher education. In fact, along with all his brothers, the young Antonio Luna was sent by his parents to study in Spain. Young Antonio was sent to study pharmacy. At number 2, Antonio was not the only famous Luna. The brothers would later become some of the most distinguished in the Philippines for their many accomplishments. Manuel, a renowned violinist, Joaquin, a respected surgeon, and Juan, a political activist and the most celebrated painter in history. Today, both Juan and Antonio are remembered and recognized for their heroic contributions during the revolution against Spain and the war against the United States. But actually, before the movie General Luna, Juan was perhaps the most popular among the Luna brothers. At number 3, just like his older brothers, Antonio Luna discovered a new life in both Spain and Paris, while at the same time remaining true to his Filipino roots. He became an athlete, an expert chemist, a propagandist, a doctor, and a poet, and a songwriter. At number 4, when the Philippine Revolution against Spain broke out in 1896, it was no surprise to anyone that knew Antonio that he would want to be part of it. He returned to Manila after spending time in Europe, but because of his connections to the propaganda movement and notable political figures in Spain, Luna was charged with illegal association. He was deported back to Spain in 1897 during his return to Europe. Luna spent time in Madrid, Germany, and Belgium. He went to all these places to learn military movements, strategy, including fortifications, tactics, and guerrilla warfare. At number 5, after his first battle in Manila in 1898, Luna was famous for his sharp shooting skills and military genius, quickly climbed up the ranks. He eventually named the director of the war and supreme commander of the Philippine Army. Throughout the beginning stages of the Philippine-American War, Luna advised the Filipino leadership under Emilio Aguinaldo to launch surprise attacks against the American forces before any reinforcements arrived. But his opinions were met with animosity and were practically ignored, eventually leading to the downfall of the First Philippine Republic. At number 6, Antonio Luna became a journalist in the middle of a revolution and war. He felt that Filipinos were stout, impregnable fortresses of courage and fortitude, but their minds needed to be strengthened with the ideas of nationhood and the need to fight a new imperialist enemy. Because of this, he created La Independencia, a 4-page daily newspaper that was published across the Philippines. At number 7, Antonio Luna's volatile temper was a big problem to Aguinaldo's leadership. While many in Aguinaldo's cabinet felt like it was time to make a deal with the Americans and give up on Filipino independence, Luna strongly disagreed and was quoted saying, "To compromise with the enemy, to have a new era of slavery and suffering." And that number 8, General Luna was brutally murdered not by his foreign enemies but by his fellow Filipinos. On June 4th, 1899, Luna received a telegram ordering him to meet with then President Aguinaldo in Cabanatuan. But when Luna arrived, Aguinaldo was nowhere to be found. And after heated exchange with Felipe Pentamino, Luna was ambushed. He was stabbed and shot by a group of assassins, disgruntled soldiers whom Luna had previously dismissed from the army. And even after 30 stabs and gunshots, Luna was able to fight back and attempt an escape, while finally succumbing to his injuries. His final words were, "Cowards, assassins." He was murdered in broad daylight, brutally slaughtered in a church patio, while Emilio Aguinaldo's mother was watching from a window above. She was quoted saying, "Gumagalaw pa ba yan? Is he still moving? Is he still alive?" Luna played an integral role in the Philippine-American War, so much so that after his death, an American general was what it's saying that the Filipino had only one general and they had killed them. He respectfully admired Luna for acumen and accomplishments. General Antonio Luna's assassination was a tragedy, not just for his family or for his followers, but for the entire country. In that time, Luna was the most brilliant general, not just in the Philippines, but around the world. Many believe that his scientific approach to war and his wholehearted dedication to the liberation of his people could have saved the island from the genocide and cruelty of the American imperialism. But sadly, power and egos were hurt, and the so-called leaders were more vengeful than patriotic. They would rather orchestrate the gruesome murder of a brilliant man out of hate and spite rather than settling aside their differences and settling aside their selfish interest for the good of the motherland. And that is it for me today. I am Marial Catherine Casara Simafranca from UMS A11.